Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Ask a Leader. Now, with me on the call today, I have somebody that I met on LinkedIn because I read her book. Now, if you know anything about me, my background has been in the IT MSP space. And for the last decade, I've had to watch how sales, marketing, customer success tend not to work together very well, and certainly not from a tech perspective. But today we are about to solve that problem and also talk to a female leader in sales who has about 20 years of experience. Her background, absolutely amazing lady. And yes, I actually did finish her book from cover to cover, which is a very rare thing considering I have dyslexia and it isn't in audio format. So it took me a lot longer. Right, Annika. Would you like to just give us your mission, who you are, what makes you get out of bed in the morning, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, my name is Hanneke Vogels. As you can hear from my name, I'm very Dutch, born and raised in the Netherlands. I've been around since 1982, so that is that I'm long enough around to know what life is about, but still young enough to reinvent myself at least another three times. Yeah, so I serve the next generation, I think, in sales, but also my own next generation, which I produce. I got twins of nine that are 9 years old. But for me, everything is about bringing sales, B2B sales in particular, to the next level,
Mhm.
preferably in warp speed. And I do that with the use of smart tech and basically turning back to the customer journey and supporting everything that a sales needs to do to help that buyer buy.
Hmm. Cool. So I'm just going to go into a quick shout out for the sponsor of the podcast or the sponsor of
Mhm.
the live. So apologies, everybody, as Hannah, because it was just reminding me about 2 minutes ago, what happens if the tech goes wrong, and it just has.
Isn't it amazing? Our life is just great, right? With all the tech
So
all
with that, you're going to have to wait a second, but I'll just blabber on for a moment. So, the sponsor of the podcast is Specular Consulting. They are an organization that basically serves IT transformation. Now, if you're trying to scale your professional services team or you are looking to maintain profitable utilization of your full time resources, build knowledge and expertise into your internal team, or avoid the costs and profits permanent and contractor recruitment hell, and believe me, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about, then you should go talk to Specular Consulting. They are the web address is specularconsulting.com. And if you want to find them on LinkedIn, you will need to go and look for Benjamin P. Fisher. And I will drop the link in the in the show notes. And now I'm just going to see if I can get the Hanukkah back up to ask her the next question. Now, I'd like to ask you the question because I think this is one of the things, especially I like the fact that you're saying you're serving the next generation, which I think is really important because if we don't talk on social, they are never going to hear. So I would like to know how you see leadership. Okay.
I I saw that question, of course, beforehand. So, me seeing leadership, I have an issue with leadership in general. I don't like to be led as a person, and I think that counts for a lot of people. So,
Mm,
I tend to project that as well to the people that I lead. For me, leadership is providing freedom with for all with the boundaries to stay within societal norms. So I believe in knowledge and trust. And I believe that to find like the balance between giving people as much as you can to do what they think is right because you trust them and guide them through knowledge, giving them as much information as they can. And at certain points, you just have to say, okay, I know where you're coming from, but for me, it doesn't make sense, or I have to decide any other way. I know that's bad for you, but in general, it's better. But I think that like as much freedom as you can. I've had a lot of good leaders around me that did the same thing,
mm,
and I think that that's I don't take myself too serious. I guess I'm just another gal leading and try to help people to lead others as well. I think that
mm.
that's like the the basic of it.
Mm. Do you think, because I mean, that's very similar to what Terry Wilson was talking about on the last
Mhm.
call. Surprisingly enough, there are commonalities for nearly every continent. So this is all the way from US to India.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, people are saying similar things. So it's as long as the people know those boundaries. So I
Mhm.
presume you set those very clearly. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Well, no, because you don't know what situations you're getting into. So those boundaries evolve and you learn from whatever mistakes are being made or where friction occurs. I think that one of the examples that I did in the past, I had a 1, 2, 3 rule
Mhm.
within my team. So if something goes bad the first time,
Mhm.
we can solve it. If it
Yeah.
goes bad the second, if it's the same thing happens the second time, that's the time to be alert. And if the third time it happens, we need to figure out how to make sure that it never happens again. And I think that with leadership and boundaries, it's the same thing. Just let it be, let it happen. And I know it's annoying if mistakes are being made or boundaries are being broken, but I let it just happen. And only if it's becoming a pattern, you got to solve it. And
Mm.
that served me well because we just tend to make up a lot of rules that eventually will grow into something that's a beast and doesn't help us anymore. It just, the beast itself is too complex to manage, where you get all the protocols. And that's why corporates tend to have issues to move fast because they have too many rules. I
Mm.
believe in more in guidelines than in rules itself. So I think that that's where how I usually operates. 1, 2, 3, make it
Mm.
simple.
I agree with you. That's what I used to do as well. I think trying to impose anything else is you're stifling then innovation otherwise.
I don't. Maybe it also becomes. It's clear. It's. I think that from that rule, it's clear that I don't believe in perfection,
No.
and I know I'm not. I'm not the one. Like I'm not typical for society or for a lot of people when it comes to that. I think
Mm.
that perfection in itself is beautiful, but it cripples in organizations. So as a leader, you don't want to be perfect and you don't want to create perfection.
I think it has some very big downsides. So I was working in the financial sector in before 2008, and I met one or two people in there that were absolutely certain. They said, "Da da da," whatever the organization, I won't name them, doesn't matter. They said, we always do it right." And when I hear those words pass people's lips, you can see smoke on my shoes as I'm trying to get out of the door.
Run, run. Yeah, true.
That's people like that worry me, that they're so certain that they know the truth. But what are the upsides you see in leadership? And I suppose I'd really like to see this from a female perspective, because I know that's something that's important to you. So maybe you could answer it in sort of that.
I think that, well, it comes back to the next generation, right? I'm now, but there will be so much more behind me. And I
Mhm.
think that leadership offers the opportunity to grow something beyond yourself, to make an impact in many more lives than just you in your role as doing what your job is
Mm.
on the operational level. So making an impact on more than what you can do yourself. You're multiplying. I kind of, well, as I have kids, I multiplied, but it's like it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing. It's like your vision, and it has a little bit of ego in it, I guess, but you really believe that you have something to offer to the world in what capacity whatsoever, and you think that matters, and you want to make that bigger than what you can just do for yourself. And I think that that's for me the biggest upside in leadership is that you can do that, and with that, those people grow as well. And if they do the same thing, it just keeps on expanding. I love that idea,
Mm.
the inspiration that you can give to others to make the world a little bit a better place in whatever way you're feeling like you need to.
Mm. Okay. I'll not ask a question there. I'll just go straight into this.
Oh, okay,
What
okay.
are the downsides? So what about the upsides? What about the downsides? Because I know this is one of the things, certainly from my generation. I'm Gen X, so
Mhm.
um, we tend to try and not talk about those. Although everybody says they're really important, nobody actually says what they are.
Yeah.
So I'd love to know how you see that.
I think that I've been a leader within organizations, so in corporates, but now I own my own company. I think that in a way, leadership for me has two downsides. So one, I think it's lonely at times. So
Mm,
for me, it takes so much to explain to other people who actually understand what you're going through and have ideas that can help you.
mm,
Just takes so much time to explain what's happening and what you're struggling with. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm struggling with. I'm just struggling with something. So the loneliness, it just feels like like you're swimming against the stream at times. So that's one of the downsides as a leader for me. So you won't find it in your team and you won't find it like in the management above you. That's like the juggle that you have, whether you're the CEO or in middle management, you always have someone defining your route, and there's friction in it. If there wasn't any friction, they wouldn't need you. So
mm,
that friction is lonely. And the thing is that it basically comes down to you. No matter where you are, it comes down to you. If you don't do it, nobody does. And it sounds cynical because it shows that like your team wouldn't do it, but in a way it is because you feel like you should be on that spot, otherwise you wouldn't have accepted it. So
mm,
you feel you need to put it in. So if you're not doing it, nobody is.
mm,
That that's like it can be like sort of overwhelming to push that. And I have that at times because my mission is so much bigger than making strives big. I just really want to warp speed B2B sales teams into the next level.
mm,
There's just so much work. Like, for
mm,
instance, you asked me to be on this LinkedIn Live, which I
mm,
super appreciate, but then in my head, it goes like, "We should be doing this. There's so much to tell. There's so many people we can invite and bring something to the audience." I wrote a book, but I already have the concepts of 8. Every step I take, 3 new things get to that list because my mission is so big. It's so much bigger than me. Yeah, that can be overwhelming at times. I need my breaks to like bring it down to one step at a time. What am I doing first? And yes, I have some help. I'm not alone. And that works really well, but in the moment it can feel overwhelming.
mm. Okay. I think Terry said he gets a book and goes out on the veranda.
Well, yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I do. I just dive into fiction. I'm such a fan of fantasy books that are super thick because
Mm,
they get me into an entire new world. That's one of the things that I do. I love to do sports because that helps. But simple stuff as folding laundry, which I have a lot during the week, can just bring me back down to earth. It can be the simple things that bring you back for sure.
I never did understand that what the kids said. Hire somebody to do all the mundane things in life. And I'm going, no, those are the actual things that ground me. Getting up, doing the coffee, making sure the dog's fed, making sure the kids are okay.
It's the
It's
rhythm, right?
like
The
that.
ritual. Yeah.
If you've got a mission that's that big, you need something that's small, I think.
Yes. You
Yeah.
need to see because you're always ahead 5 to 10 years to create that impact. You're envisioning it, but
Yeah.
sometimes you just need something that shows result right now.
You mean something you actually can get your hands on and control.
Exactly. Exactly.
Picking up
Exactly
a
that.
book or folding washing. I love that. I'm glad I do that. So nice to know that I'm not alone. Right. So with that, and we're talking about here the sort of next generation. How would you suggest if somebody does want to become a leader,
Mhm.
how they should they prepare themselves, and how would you suggest they do it?
Oh, awesome
It
question.
always sounds really simple.
Yeah,
When
well,
you've then, in quotes, done it.
yes. I think that for me, 3 things stand out. 1, act like it's your own business.
Mm,
So if you're not a leader yet, but still act like it's your own business.
mm,
Take up the extra work and like not extra work within your job, but side projects within the company that are very needed, make an impact, and act like it's your own business. So don't do any corporate agenda bullshit. What's right, call it out when it's not right. And yes, that mean that you might be kicked out, but that's a good thing. Being kicked out for being outspoken, I think that should like earn you 3 stars on your resume for sure, because it means that you're acting like it's your own business and that other people show their true colors. And that happens for a gazillion reasons. Those people are not bad. They just don't act like it's their own business. They're in there for themselves. And I think that eventually you'll learn a lot from that and how people operate, how agendas might work, how conflict and interest occurs. You can go ahead of it and find your way in connecting with people before it happens. So that's the first thing. Act like it's your own business. The second thing is please your team, not the management above you, because your team is always with more. So if you do it wrong, there's more knives coming from in your back, coming from the team than from the management above. They're easier to manage. So turn your back towards the management above you and be
mhm,
there for your team.
mhm,
I think that I did things reversed a lot. So
mhm.
whenever the management above me told me you cannot tell this to your team, I always did. I just did. I just told him, "Okay, guys, I'm gonna tell you something I was instructed not to tell you, but I'm gonna, because I feel that this is valuable information for you and it will guide your decisions.
Mm,
But if this ever comes out of this room, my head's coming up. So if you want a new manager, please go ahead, do it." And they never did. Of course they
mm.
never did because I took them seriously.
It's
So
not
that's like the second thing is like please your team, not the management above you. And I think the last one is to keep your own ego in check. So I always say, don't think that you know it better. You don't. Maybe in the beginning, when you get promoted, you still know how to do that work. But once
Mm,
you move up that ladder, you do not know how the work should be done. You might have some good ideas and some good angles and perspectives,
mhm,
but they're the ones doing it. And they actually see the effects of decisions being made. So if they're saying it's a bad idea, it's probably a bad idea. Keep your own ego in check
mm,
because they know.
mm.
They know for sure. And if you feel like they don't know, you didn't tell them enough.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's
I
the
think
three things. Act like it's your own business. Don't think that you know better and please your team, not the management above.
okie dokie. That's a very clear answer. I like that one. I'm sure that will be useful to people that are younger rather than just this amorphous, "Mwah," you know. I don't know how much bullshit I've heard in that respect. The interesting thing that I found is I've seen a lot of companies do leverage buyouts in a corporate world. And the odd thing is the managers that they brought on for departments, they were the owners of the businesses they'd bought. So when you were talking about one of yours about ownership, that sort of rings a bell. And oddly enough, that corporate organization, well, did very, very well. I think it was just behind Microsoft. So just a thought, everybody. Right. With that, creation. Now, this is a cracker. And I'm sure you've thought about this, so you're prepared.
Yeah, bring
Are
it
there
on.
any questions I've not asked you that I should be asking?
Well, you could ask me what the worst thing you could do as a leader, just for the fun of it, to learn from it. I'll
What's
answer
the
it.
worst thing?
I think I think that as a leader, we always invite people to come to our offices and talk to us or book meetings. We're very approachable. And I found that most leaders are very busy. They have full schedules. So whenever like context switching is doing a lot,
Mm,
they're swamped. So that means that if someone just walks in with a thing and you probably have a really strong opinion about what they're telling you. But
mm,
the worst thing you can do as a leader is first say, my door is always open. And then when they come in to criticize people with how they want to do things,
mm,
because it just basically tells them, I don't give a shit about um, who you think you are and that you're right. I'll tell you what to do. So you're actually creating robots and people that will always say yes to what you're saying, and you're not making it bigger than yourself. It will always depend on you. Those people will never come back if they're in their right mind to ask your opinion. They will just do or leave.
mm.
So I think that the worst thing is the contradiction in inviting people to talk to you, saying you're approachable and then being not.
Do you think a way of getting around that? Because what I tended to do when I got very busy was I'd make sure that a portion of the day I'd say to people, here, that's us. The rest of the time, I'm so overwhelmed, I've got to do all of this. And I'd tell the people the list, so they knew the list of things that I had.
Mhm.
We did it like that. Do you think something like that would be a good idea? I mean, I've got my own experiences, but
I
something
think
like that. How do you
transparency
handle that?
I think transparency in what you're doing is good. I also believe that you shouldn't be available constantly,
Mm,
but you should be available when it matters most. So everybody in my teams always knew that at the edges of the day, I was always available. So,
mm,
and even when I was on a sick leave or out on vacation, if there was something coming up that they
mm,
needed me for, they could always text me or call me and I would pick up. My
mm,
team always went first. So them knowing what you're doing, but not being around usually helps them to solve the stuff themselves. So I really think that encouraging people to solve problems on their own and you picking up the debris if something bad happens and always saying, I'll own that. I'd rather have you fix stuff 9 times well and just having me fix one little thing because, well, you obviously make the wrong decision, which is fine. That just happens.
mm,
And then instead of the other way around, that they ask permission for everything, like because then I have work 10 times. It's
mm,
just it's like that things being available versus being around,
mm,
uh, but when you are available,
mm,
don't give your opinion constantly. Just ask them what they need and just do that. Give
mm,
them that what they're asking for. It's not a broad question. Most of
mm,
the times I just got, they would just tell me and say, I need you to talk to this person about this and this and make sure that they say yes to this request that I have because I already tried and they didn't say yes. So
mm,
and then I just got I just got a work order from someone in my team. And that's like um sometimes they want a yes from you, they just want to consult. Sometimes they need you to do something.
mm,
Um I think that that's keeping your own opinion in check and just doing what they want, and unless it's like totally off, but
mm,
that usually never happens. If you
mm,
if you build your own team, if you have a good team, if you give them that trust, they will
mm,
bring that back.
mm,
So you don't need to have that opinion,
mm,
and if you're transparent about being available and at what times and how you will help them, they will come to you.
mhm. Okay. I am just going to do something that might cause absolute chaos. Okay. I'm going to go onto the event just to check and see if we've got a Q&A because I haven't seen anything come through. So I'm just going to do that now. If anybody wonders what it really looks like, I'm demonstrating the fact. So it's not perfect, but there you go. That's life. There was something that sort of sprang out to me there. You said that that thing with perfection, because I think this is something that certainly gets pushed in social media, that you need to be perfect or something needs to be perfect,
Hmm.
or then you start it or you do it. And
Hmm.
you were talking about permission and giving people that freedom to do that. How do you think that's the right attitude to have, or how do you see it? Because I see that all over the place where people think they need to be perfect or something.
I don't know what it is, perfection. I think that in a way, almost everyone has their own idea about perfection and what they're striving for. Highly intrinsic motivated to do what's right being told, and how they view the right thing. And in the end, it's nothing wrong with perfection, but it also cripples. So I think that it's okay if you help people to strive for their own perfection, but not having it revert into your culture and into your processes. Do you see the difference in it? Like people trying to like become better at what they're doing, but also helping them decide what level of perfection they're going for. Are we doing 90%, 95, 100? But sometimes you want to deliver 120%. You really want to go there. And maybe they won't get to the 120, but they'll get to 116, which is amazing if they drive themselves further. And I think
So
that
it's like in bands.
it's
Do I've
creating.
understood? I
Yeah,
understood
it's
that correctly. So it seems like it's in bands. Like sometimes you need to go as far as you possibly can. Sometimes
yeah,
it's the middle, and sometimes it just needs to get done. Is
yes,
ah,
yes,
okay?
yes, and that might be uncomfortable for people. It's well, I think that's a form of leadership, is showing like the boundaries for this job right now is that you move fast. That
Mm,
is the way I want you to go. And sometimes it is, I want you to go all in. I know you can do this. We need this one. Let's go. Let's do this.
okay. Well, I'm just going to join the live, and I know this is going to cause problems, so bear with me, everybody. I'm
Mhm.
just mute myself to make sure I don't cause an absolute mess.
I could sing a song for the people waiting for you to come up with some ideas, but I'm sorry, I can't sing. Twinkle, twinkle, little star should work, but I don't want to put everybody to sleep.
I can actually sing, but I don't do that very often. Only at Christmas. Right. Okay. There's nothing on that at the moment. So, is there anything else you'd like to add, apart from what we've just discussed, that you feel important, or you just like to call out? How can people get in touch with you? I know you've got an event going on next year. Would you like just to say what those are, so it's right at the end of the live?
Okay. Yeah. If you want to know more about me and what I do on a daily basis, you might want to follow me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. If you have any questions, I'm only a DM away. And if you're interested in sales technology and my view on B2B sales for now and for the future, you can read my book. It's called Sales Tech: Building the Ultimate Sales Machine. It's available on Amazon through printing on demand and ebooks. And my company name is Strives. So if you're interested in scaling up your B2B sales teams and you want to know how tech can help you, please reach out. LinkedIn is perfect to do so. And one of the things that I really want to say is thank you for joining, because a Friday, the rush is on. I saw on the list that everybody from all over the world is joining us. So a big thank you.
I think the thing with these things, it's like anything in business. It's the timing. So I find I get messages after the fact or before the fact saying, "I can't make that time. Can you send me?" And so this
Yes.
is why I started doing lives, because I just said it's on LinkedIn, and I'll make sure that anybody that comes to me that's asking for you, just in case they get lost, I will be forwarding them on to you. Okay,
That's great.
cool.
That's great.
Then I always say this. Thank you so much for attending and accepting. I know how tough it is to build a business because I'm a third generation in that respect. You have my highest respect. I love the book, and anybody that wants to actually learn something that's practical, that really makes a difference, I suggest you at least subscribe to our newsletter if you're thinking, not too sure about that, because that is a gem. Okay.
Thank you.